Hey everybody, happy Independence Day 2022 to the good old US of A. DM Gallibond here, and today on Monster Monday we're going to be talking about Tanazir Quandrix and some homebrew variants. Now, Tanazir Quandrix is one of the founder dragons from Strixhaven University, and we are going to talk about where Tanazir comes from in the Magic the Gathering lore, what the creature is like in that game and in D&D, and then we're going to reimagine some variations for this monster. All right, so Tanazir Quandrix is a legendary creature card that first appeared in the Strixhaven School of Mages expansion of Magic the Gathering back in 2021. It costs 5 mana to cast, and it requires both green and blue mana. Now, Tanazir Quandrix is not mentioned in any of the official fiction released with the Strixhaven School of Mages expansion by the Magic team. But looking at it mechanically as a creature card, it has both flying and trample. And trample means that any leftover damage dealt by Tanazir Quandrix after it kills blockers is applied directly to the opponent's life pool. And flying means it can only be blocked by creatures that also have flying or that have a special tag that allows them to block flying creatures. Now, as a legendary card, you can only ever have one of these in your deck, and it does come with a couple of cool effects. First of all, when you play Tanazir Quandrix from your hand, you can double the number of +1/+1 counters on any one creature you control on your side of the board. And then, whenever you attack with Tanazir Quandrix, you can have the base power and toughness of all of the other creatures that you control be equal to Tanazir's current power and toughness. When we look at the Strixhaven A Curriculum of Chaos campaign over in Dungeons and Dragons, we find a little bit more about Tanazir Quandrix. First of all, we don't ever get a description of her as a creature, but it definitely is clear that she reflects her mana colors of blue and green in her skin or in her scales, since she's a dragon. Now, her wings, in the shape of the outline of the wings, they look kind of like butterfly wings, but it is almost then, if you look at the individual parts of the wings, it's like her wings were made up of leaves from some kind of tree. It kind of almost looks like the leaves of a holly bush, except they don't quite have enough little flares and points to be a holly bush. And she has some kind of strange horns or growth on her head, and those make it look like her head is covered in roots. Now, it's also curious that, like the dragon Nikobolas, Tanazir Quandrix appears to walk upright when she's on the ground. Now, is that a hint by the Magic team that somehow these two dragons are related? Getting back to Dungeons and Dragons, the lore of Tanazir Quandrix is this. She is one of the most potent masters of the magic that governs physical reality and theoretical abstraction. Through this knowledge, Tanazir Quandrix can alter the physical properties of existence, gain fundamental understanding, and manipulate the flow of thought. And Tanazir founded Quandrix College to nurture the spark of curiosity in those who would pursue knowledge. The goal is to train mages who seek knowledge for its own sake, guided by the mathematical principles that describe and govern the nature of reality. And in terms of tactics, if you're ever going to use her as a monster, Tanazir's spells, legendary actions, and breath weapon manifest luminous patterns of geometric light. These take various forms, such as an interlocking cage around the target of a spell, or a wave of infinitely replicating fractal swirls in the area of her breath. Now, those are sort of cosmetic things, but if you want tactical information, my recommendation would be Always open with her breath weapon, because her breath weapon is able to weaken as many opponents as possible in the area that she breathes. And then you want to polymorph the most dangerous opponent into a fuzzy little hamster or something like that to make them not a threat in the battlefield. We all know that in 5th edition, every creature has to have a creature type, and in Dungeons and Dragons, Tanazir Quandrix is in fact a dragon. Dragons are traditionally large reptilian creatures of ancient origin and tremendous power. True dragons, including the good metallic dragons and the evil chromatic dragons, are highly intelligent and have innate magical abilities. Also in this category are creatures distantly related to two dragons, but less powerful, less intelligent, less magical, such as wyverns and pseudo-dragons. Now, an important thing to note about Tanazir Quandrix, as well as all of the founder dragons from Strixhaven, is that the lore says they kind of sprang into being at the beginning of the part of the multiverse that contains the plane of this world that Strixhaven is on. So they were fully formed, they were fully adult, they never had any kind of life cycle. But when we reimagine these dragons for use in other games outside of the Strixhaven setting, we are going to imagine that they do have a life cycle and what the younger versions of these dragons would look like. So let's take a look at what that would be like with Tanazir Quandrix. So if we pull up the stat block here for her, we can see that her armor class is 21. She has 444 hit points, so 24d20 plus 192. She's got a speed of 40 feet when she walks on the ground and a flying speed of 80 feet. She's got a challenge rating of 24, which makes her right on par with like an ancient gold dragon or an ancient red dragon. So she's very, very high up there, an in-game boss monster. Her proficiency bonus is +7 and a very, very high stat block, which you'll find with most dragons. Now she's got almost no dump stats. You would have to say that Dex is perhaps her dump stat, but even that's a 14, which is a +2 bonus. So her strength is 28, Dex 14, Con 27, Intelligence 28, because that's what she uses for casting her spells, Wisdom 18, and Charisma 17. Her attack bonus is +16, and her damage bonus is +9. Now, she's got a breath weapon, recharges on a 5 or 6, requires a DC 23 Constitution save, or you'll take 13d6 force damage and 13d6 psychic damage, and you're weakened until the start of Tanazir's next turn. Now, that weakened condition means that any d20 roll regarding that relies on strength. So attacks that rely on strength, skill checks that rely on strength, or saving throws for strength, those are all at disadvantage. So when you're weakened, yeah, it really, really messes, especially with melee fighters, and makes it much harder for them to hit. Now, if you are successful in that saving throw, you take only half damage and you don't suffer the weakness. Now, she can do that, or she can do the typical dragon claw bite routine. So 1 bite with +16 reach of 15 feet, 1d10 +9 piercing, and 2d6 force damage. And then 2 claws +16 reach of 10 feet each, and then each claw deals 2d6 +9 slashing damage, and the target has a speed of 0 until the start of Tanazir's next turn. So she claws you, you ain't going anywhere. It's not that you're not prone and you have to spend half your movement to get up and you go, nope, you're just stuck right there because it hurts that much when she hits you with those claws. She's immune to psychic and force damage. She does have legendary resistance. She's got teleportation. She's got that limited spell casting, so she can do the polymorph. She can do a few other little things. And then she also has those legendary actions that she's able to do. So extra attacks and those types of things that can be done with a legendary action. That is Tanazir Quandrix as written in the campaign. Let us go and look at Tanazir Quandrix as if she were a Wyrmling. So this would be reimagining, if there were such a thing in your game, which there might be, as a Quandrix Wyrmling. So the armor class would be 17. Hit points 38, 8d8 plus 24. Speed of 30 feet, fly of 60 feet. Challenge rating 3, proficiency bonus plus 2. Ability scores still above average, but much, much more close to like a really, really good PC. Strength of 19, Dex 14, Con 17, Intelligence 14, Wisdom 11, and Charisma 16. Attack bonus plus 6, damage bonus plus 4. She does still have the breath weapon, still recharges on 5 or 6, but it's only a DC 13 Constitution save, and it's a total of 4 dice of damage. 2d6 force, 2d6 psychic, and be weakened until the start of Tanazir's next turn. And you can save successfully for half damage and no weakness. Or she can bite you one time, and it's plus 6 attack, reach of 5 feet, 1d10 plus 4 piercing, and 1d6 force damage. And then she's immune to psychic and force damage as a Wyrmling. All right, well, let's advance her one age category and take a look at Tanazir Quandrix as a young dragon. So, young Quandrix. All right, so armor class is now 18, hit points 178, 17d10 plus 85. The the movement speed is 40, fly speed is 80, CR of 10, proficiency bonus plus 4. The ability scores ramped up a little bit. 19 strength, 14 dex, constitution 17, intelligence 18, wisdom 16, charisma 22, and attack bonus of plus 10. So damage bonus plus 6. Breath weapon recharges on a 5 or 6. Now it requires a DC 17 Constitution save, and the damage is 5d6 force and 5d6 psychic on a failed save. The bite reach is now 10 feet, and she gets 2 claw attacks. So she gets 3 attacks or the breath weapon. Still has the same immunities. And then when we get to the next age category and imagine Tanazir Quandrix as an adult. So this would be the Quandrix adult. Armor class is 19, 256 hit points, 19d12 plus 133, speed of 40, fly speed of 80, challenge rating 15, proficiency bonus plus 5. And the stats are once again bumped up a little bit more. Strength 27, Dex 14, Constitution 25, Intelligence 24, Wisdom 15, Charisma 24. Attack bonus plus 14, damage bonus plus 8. That breath weapon has a DC 21 Constitution save, and then it's 96 force, 96 psychic, and weakened until Tanazir's next turn. Successful save for half damage and no weakness. So the bite has a 10-foot reach, 2d10 plus 8 piercing, and 1d8 force damage. And the claws are 2d6 plus 8 slashing damage, and the target has a speed of 5 feet until the start of Tanazir's next turn. So then the immunities are psychic and force damage. And at the adult category, she gains legendary resistance. She gets a more limited set of spells. You would decide whether you want her to have just a subset of the spells that she has in the book, or whether you would want to maybe look at some spells that maybe are a little bit lower in level. So instead of like maybe 4th or 5th level spells, maybe give her 2nd or 3rd level spells, something like that. And then legendary actions. All right. And that's going to do it for our look at Tanazir Quandrix and some of the variations. As I already said at the top of the show, today is Independence Day, and that means that in the last week we haven't had any of our live stream games. This whole weekend, people have been traveling, families in town, stuff like that, so we haven't tried to have any of our weekend games. And then I had a conflict last Wednesday. My voice is just about recovered now as we advance to the Final Four of the U.S. Open Cup. So that's for my local soccer team. We are one of the, well, within this competition, we're one of the best 4 teams in the country left. And we will see, we get to host another game at the end of July to see if we advance to the actual final. So hopefully that will happen. Normally, we do have 3 games every week that are live streamed on Twitch, and those are the Walker of Waterdeep, which is a planeswalking 5th edition D&D game, a Sword Coast Chronicles, which is a homebrew 5th edition D&D game where we tell an original story through the lens of the 5th edition published campaigns. Right now, we are in the Tomb of Annihilation storyline. Then on Saturday nights, we have Saturday Night Greyhawk. That is Saturday at 7:30, and that's a 2nd edition game. So we go into the Wayback Machine, we go back to an old rule set, and we play that game, and we are going through some of the greatest hits of old-time D&D. So right now, we are playing through the original Temple of Elemental Evil. So if you want to see what some of those old modules are like and you want to experience what some of the rule sets are like, come and join us on Saturday nights. Now, those are all live on Twitch. All the archives of all the games, as well as all of the archives of Monster Monday and everything else, are over on the YouTube channel right here where you're watching this. And then we do have a Patreon in case anybody wants to help us be able to try to create more content. All right. So next week, we are going to finish our look at the monsters that come from Strixhaven University, and that is going to be by looking at Velomachus Lorehold from Strixhaven, A Curriculum of Chaos. I have been DM Gallibond, and if you have been watching this far, thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and click the post notification bell so that you get notified every time new content appears on the channel. All right, everyone. Take care. Good night, and remember to watch out for the monsters under the bed. Good night, everybody.